Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, former NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, and welcome to the new 1631 Digital News Studio. You know, some people say, no news is good news. Well, I say to those people, you've never read 1631digitalnews.com. Go to 1631digitalnews.com to get your latest news, sports, music, and entertainment. And maybe even listen to your favorite podcast, Huddle Up with Gus. Check it out today at www.1631digitalnews.com.
Huddle Up with Gus is brought to you by Vegas Sports Advantage. Clients of Vegas Sports Advantage are winning big in 2021, and you can be a part of the winning too. As of June 1st, $100 bettors are up $3,700. $500 bettors are up $18,500, and $1,000 bettors are up $37,000, and $5,000 bettors are up $185,000. Become a client today by clicking the link in the description below and use promo code HUDDLEUP to take 25% off your package today, thanks to our partnership.
Welcome to what surely will be a doozy of a matchup right here, sports fans. Whether your game is on the gridiron, at the diamond, or on the links, we can only say, welcome to this week's Huddle Up with Gus. 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, passion for sports, has taken him on the field and behind the benches, playing for 7 NFL franchises with 114 TDs under his belt. Gus knows who the players are and how the games are won.
It's not every day you get to hang out with an NFL quarterback, huh?
Okay, sports fans, from the decked out and plush 1631 digital studios, it's kickoff time. So snap your chin straps on and get ready to huddle up with Gus.
Strange variety, but again, a big play to Leslie.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, Gus Frerotte, 15-year NFL quarterback. I am so excited today for our incredible guest. But before we get to him, I want to tell all of our sponsors, thank you. Vegas Sports Advantage, go and use them. Put my code in, Huddle Up, and save 25%. Those guys will help you win some real money if you're a bettor and a gambler. Don't follow me. I'm terrible at it. I also want to thank 1631 Digital News Studio for always helping us, super producer Brian and Terry for helping me with this show. And then I also want to thank Sounder FM. Sounder FM is where we host our platform and our huddle and our podcast. So thank you, Sounder FM, for all your new technology that you use for us and helping us transcribe all the shows. So today's show, I'm really excited. I'm sure that all of our fans will know this gentleman, have seen him play, have heard his music. He's got a new solo album out, but way back when, I don't know, I think it was maybe 1986. He was going to the University of South Carolina, met a guy named Darius Rucker, and they co-founded a band called the Wolf Brothers. But they added a few more guys, and you may know them now as Hootie and the Blowfish. So joining me today is Mark Bryan, co-founder, lead guitarist, and writer for Hootie and the Blowfish and Mark Bryan Music. How you doing, buddy?
Gus, I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for having me here. You're an old-time friend of the band. You used to come see us play. I remember that, and we used to go see you play too. So it's really cool to be sitting here talking with you, man.
Yeah, I used to really like your music until you guys let Tony Saragusa sing it all the time, and then I had to quit listening.
He's such a ham, isn't he? Yeah, I mean,
just go to Marino's house, and that's the only thing you'd hear is him drunk and singing your songs.
You get him around a band anytime. He's like, "Oh, do they know Sinatra? Yeah, can I do Sinatra?"
Oh, that was great. That was great, man. What good times, and time flies. And I mean, thinking back to all those great times that when you guys were just on the rise, and now my kids have all graduated college. My daughter's a vet down in DC.
Oh,
it's
nice.
Like, what happened? Where'd the whole time go?
Yeah,
and I'm turning 50 this week. It's like, what happened?
Well, midlife priceless, baby. Midlife.
That's priceless. Right. Midlife crisis. I love it.
I have a kid out of college and one in college and one getting ready to go in college. So I'm right there with you, brother.
Oh, it's a lot of work, isn't it? And
yeah.
I was really hoping for scholarships, but they weren't in my future for all my kids.
I'll hear that.
Had to spend some of that old money, I guess.
Right.
So we want to go back to you growing up in Silver Spring, Maryland, and what that time was like for you. Were you an athlete and a musician? Like, did you do both? I mean, because you have such a love for sports, but you also have a love for music. I think they're both wonderful. That's
a great question. I was born in Silver Spring and grew up in Bethesda and Gaithersburg, all Montgomery County there. And my father was a basketball coach growing up, and he coached like the Beltway League team for our area in Gaithersburg. And so I was a gym rat from a very young age, and kind of learning the concept of team and how to work with a team and just how to hone your skills and whatever you're doing through just watching my dad coach these kids for the whole time I was growing up. And I think that that sort of developed in me, that attitude developed in me of how to work with other people and how to grow something. And I played football, basketball, baseball, and really adopted that mentality of team mentality. And then once I got a little older and I became a teenager, I just became fascinated with music, and the energy in rock and roll kind of shifted my focus over to playing guitar and being in bands and writing songs, and was able to take that sort of sports mentality that I grew up with, that my dad instilled in me. And that helped a lot, I think, in working together with other musicians and bands and helping grow that. So I definitely think that was a fundamental part of who I am and what I do.
Right. So then when did you, like, tell me like this specific timeline, like when you kind of quit playing sports and then really started to focus on music?
I was a junior in high school, and my dad was coaching the summer league team for our high school, and we were good. We had a really good program. Gene Doan was the coach, and he sent off a lot of players to play in college and all that. And we were at Seneca Valley High School in Montgomery County, and junior year I was getting ready to try out for the team and everything, and my dad came to me and he's like, "Coach is thinking about you being a starter by senior year, so you're going to have to really dig in if you want to do this."
Yeah.
He's like, but I noticed that you're all the time you used to spend out at the court, practicing, you're in your room on guitar now. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I hadn't really thought about it, but he was right. I mean, I was kind of committing, my time was committed more to music than it was to sports. And so he's like, it's time for you to make an adult decision here, which do you really want to do? Which would you rather do? And so I had to, like, for the first time in my life, sit there and think about it. And I was like, wow, when it comes down to it, I think my passion is more geared towards creativity and music, and that energy that I was finding from rock and roll could not replace that anywhere with sports. And so I just sort of, the sports thing fizzled out a little bit. And I went to the coach on my dad's recommendation and told him, "Hey, I'm more into music right now than I am basketball, and I can't commit to you that I'm going to give the time I need to be a starter by senior year." And he said, well, thank you for coming to me and telling me that. And so I moved on. And then senior year, I'm in jazz ensemble and I'm playing a recital. And in the back of the room is the basketball coach watching me. And he came up to me after and he's like, "Man, I'm really impressed. I think you made the right choice. And again, I really respect you for coming to me." And all. So it was, that was a sort of a pivotal moment for me. And for a lot of reasons. And it was really good advice from my dad. And, that just carried on from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just so progressive. Like, your dad just had the forethought to say, a lot of people say that they want the best for their kids, but a lot of dads who are athletics and coaches like your dad, they don't want their kids to give up sports. I thought that's right. That's a great story. It is. He gave you the ability to choose.
Yeah, I mean, he could really see that my passion had shifted, and I couldn't even see it. I wasn't conscious of it, and he could see it, so he kind of made me aware of it, and he was right, and never turned back after that.
So when you were putting albums on or tape decks, I don't know what. You're a little older than me, I think. Whatever you were listening to, who were you listening to, and who were you trying to emulate when you would play guitar?
Yeah, it was a lot of vinyl back then, and a lot of Zeppelin. The Who was my main influence. Pete Townsend. Something about, he was a great guitar player, but he also put this energy into the songs that I couldn't find anywhere else. And he was a great songwriter and composer, and that started to really appeal to me. Like, I didn't really want to be Eddie Van Halen as much as I did Pete Townsend. Right. It's one thing to be able to sit there and shred, but you also have to be able to write great songs. And so to me, I shifted my focus more on what's a really good composition. And so while I became better at guitar, I also became a better songwriter and had a message that I wanted to share through songs and all that. And so that became very important to me. And it still is, Gus. Like, I'm still really fired up about that. And this is my 4th solo album. Whenever Hootie's done making albums, I go take all the leftovers and go make albums and that kind of thing. So it's still really what I'm fired up and passionate about. And I feel like my best songs could possibly still be ahead of me, you know?
Yeah. So where does your inspiration come from writing? Because my wife has always wanted to write, but there's other things that have pulled her away. And sometimes I think it's no different than writing, starting to write a book, and you get blocks. And does it just come from your life, or is it coming from things you see? Or
yes,
where does your inspiration come from?
Yeah, well, sometimes there's something that hits you really hard that you're going through in life, or that you see, and the words just come flying out of you. Sometimes it's like that, and like you have to write about it, that kind of thing. Other times it might be simmering below the surface, and you have to put in a little time and just you kind of write and let your subconscious flow. And you don't have to be writing about anything specific, or you don't have to be writing what you think would be a finished version. You're just writing to get your thoughts out. And a lot of times that type of writing, that stream of conscious type of writing, leads to something greater, something that I can pull from and then write more about later. So you kind of, it's almost like exercising your mind like you would when you go out to work out for a sport or something like that. Once you get that mind flowing, you're working that muscle, and it produces for you.
Right.
So that's
amazing. It's like, so I want to ask you this. So when I go back and I look at old VHS tape of me playing in high school, and I'm like, who's that skinny, gangly dude out there? What is, why did I make that throw? Or what happened to me? Like, if you go back and look at your writing from when you were in high school and stuff, you're like, what was I thinking about?
I mean, it's unlistenable, dude. there might be 1 out of 10 songs that was good, but those are the ones that keep you going. That's what makes you go, okay, maybe I can do this,
It's like my golf game. 1 shot every game gets me coming back.
Oh, it's exactly like that. I equate golf to life and my career all the time. There's so many things so many comparisons you can draw from your golf.
Right.
Game.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's just amazing because you've been doing it for so long. So then you go from high school, and how did you pick South Carolina?
I was, aside from coaching, my dad also was a sports broadcaster in the DC area. And he and Mike Patrick did GW basketball games before Mike Patrick became a national broadcaster on ESPN. Right. And so I was in like middle school when that was happening, and I would go to the GW games with my dad and listen to he and Mike Patrick, on the radio, that kind of thing. And I thought this is what I want to study. For whatever reason, I didn't want to study music. Rock and roll isn't about studying, it's about energy and playing. So when it came to school, I wanted to focus studying on broadcast journalism based on kind of, again, my dad, and University of South Carolina had a really good broadcast journalism school. And when we went down and visited, it was the best of all the campuses I had visited. It was just like, it looked like it would be the most fun. And so I picked that school, and then went and talked to our bass player from my high school band, Dean, and he had also picked South Carolina without us really ever talking about it. And so he ended up down there too. And they put us in the same dorm on different halls, and Darius lived on my hall. So by the end of freshman year, we were a band.
That's amazing. So like, you didn't know Darius moving down there, right?
Correct.
You just met him that freshman year. So how do you say, like, does he hear you playing? Do you hear him playing? How does that work? Because
I brought my guitar down to school, and he would just sing all the time.
Oh, really?
And the famous story is like I'd hear him singing in the shower. We used to, everybody would take showers together on the hall, and so he would just sing. He would sing even while he was getting ready after the shower, and you could hear him down the hall. And he just had a great voice. And so I had my guitar, and we just sat down one night with some beers, like, what songs do you know? What songs do you know? And next thing you know, we had a set of like 10 or 12 songs, and we went across the street and played them at this chicken wing joint. And as the Wolf Brothers, as you mentioned earlier.
Well, wait, where do Wolf Brothers come from?
That's a funny story too. One of the guys that lived in the dorm with us, his nickname was Wolf, and he introduced us the first show we did, and he didn't know what to say. He's like, well, ladies and gentlemen, he's from Bahamas. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mark and Darius, the Wolf Brothers. He named us after himself on the spot.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
You guys look at each other like, that works.
I kind of look like him. Not at all. But anyway, so we did that for about 3 or 4 shows, and then turned it into a band. And 2 guys that Darius were friends with had walked into a party, and he had nicknamed them separately, the Blowfish and Hootie. And they came into a party together, and he's like, "Hey, look, Hootie and the Blowfish." And then he's like, "Hey, that should be the name for our band." And not thinking that anything would ever come from it, I was like, "Sure, that sounds great."
Right.
And then a couple years later, we were graduating, and we hated the name, but it was too late because we were already known by that. So we kept it, and I'm pretty sure it worked out pretty well. So.
Yeah, it's like in Animal House when John Belushi goes, "Your new nickname will be Flounder."
It was exactly
Remember
like that.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that.
So Darius gave 2 guys a nickname, and that's how you got your band name. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm sure you guys didn't have any beers at party at all.
Well, the first few shows we played, we didn't even get paid money. The guy would pay us in beer, and one time he gave us a keg of Strohs.
Oh my gosh, it's a Blues Brothers story.
Yeah, we got a keg of Strohs for playing a show.
Yeah, in front of chicken wire. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So those things are just what kind of those kind of stories that you guys can always go back to. And I knew you guys took some, like you went hard for a long time and rose to fame, and then you took a break. What is it about bands like that? Is it like a team? You kind of got to get away from each other for a little bit and then come back together.
Yeah, I mean, we had. When we took that break, we had been touring for 20 years straight.
Oh,
I mean, we took small breaks in there, but every year for 20 years, we were doing at least 100 shows a year. So, that starts to take its toll. And then also the last couple albums we had put out, we didn't have any commercial success with. And therefore the crowds, even though they were still large, were starting to dwindle. Like we couldn't go play the bigger venues that we had played in the past, and we were starting to play smaller venues. So we were like, you know what, maybe it's time to hit the reset button here.
Yeah.
And we also had some personal stuff. Everybody had families and wanted to take a break from that standpoint. And so it was just the right time. And then that's when Darius decided to make a country album, and that was obviously has worked out great for him.
Yeah.
We got back together about 2 years ago to do a new album and tour, and it was wildly successful. So, who knows what the future holds? I think we'll probably do something like that again, including a show in Mexico this January that we're going to do.
Oh yeah, that'll be great. That'll be wonderful.
Hootie Fest, yeah.
Yeah. So when you guys are together, and I think it's special. How did you guys get involved in like golf tournaments and just athletes? Is it something that was mutual, or did they search you guys out? Because I know you guys were always part of Marino's stuff.
Yeah,
so he absolutely loved you guys.
Yeah, we obviously we always played golf, so that was a little unusual at the time. Musicians that play golf, not a lot of people were talking about that, so that became a little bit of a story. And then when we did that "Only Want to Be with You" video, where it was like an episode of Sports Center. Yeah, we were playing a bunch of sports in the video, playing basketball against NBA players, and Marino's throwing Darius footballs, and we're playing golf with couples and all that. So I think that sort of gave us that reputation of a band that loves sports.
Yeah, but those things were fun. Like Dan Marino's golf tournaments were always fun. I tell
fun.
a story. I played with Sergeant Slaughter one time. He and I we were walking down the fairways, and people go, "Hey, Sergeant Slaughter!" They didn't know who I was, but they're like, because he has all whole gear on. He'd go over and body slam people, and he'd give them like the big elbow, and I'm like, "This is awesome!" I was like a little kid just going, but they're so much fun. Like
they are so fun,
it's just so cool that you guys would take such a big part of it.
Yeah, we loved it. And then South Carolina Junior Golf had started this event where they were getting pros to come in after the Masters to Columbia, which is only an hour away from Augusta,
Yeah.
And they asked us to get involved. And then after year one of being involved with that, we took over the event, and it's Monday after the Masters, and we're now on our 27th year of doing that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, truly.
So who's the best golfer out of you guys?
Darius.
Really?
Yeah, when we took that break, like back in like '08 or whatever it was. He's like, I remember him saying this. He's like, I'm going to dedicate myself to golf. And he went and got like the indoor thing that you can put under your house, and he put a putting green in his yard, and he started taking lessons. And we're all like 12 handicaps, 15 handicaps, and he went down to like an 8-6 handicap, and he's still there, and he's definitely the best.
Wow, that's awesome. So,
yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about too is, like, you mentioned that you guys you toured forever, right? And then you're playing all your songs over and over again, and it's like us when we go out and we have to learn an offense, we put some new plays in, but we don't put a lot in because you stick with what you're good at, right? If all the time in practice we put something new in, and if we're not good at it in practice, we're like, we're not doing it. But how is that for you? Is it just go by, like, you don't even think about it, like, the sets and it's just coming through?
Yeah, so we always are going to play a staple of like older songs, the hits that people know and love, and the ones that work really well live, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for the musicians in the band, it's always exciting for us to have a couple of new songs to do too. Challenge ourselves a little bit, have some excitement in the moment with something new, and so we'll always incorporate a couple of our new originals into a set, and we always try to learn new covers to keep that list ever changing. You don't want to if you just played DC, for instance, you don't want to go back the next 2 years later and play the same set.
Right.
But you have to play some of the same set, so it's kind of a tricky thing. And Darius is really good at making set lists at this point, but he always asks us for our input, and then we'll also throw out, hey, what if we do this or that? And he'll either be like, or, oh, hey, great idea, So it's an ever-changing thing, and I think you do tailor it to the specific show you're doing too, where like whatever town we're playing in, we might try to do a cover of a band that's from that town, something fun like that,
Yeah. So have you ever gone to a town and said the wrong name, like at the beginning of a concert? Like, I always think that, like, you guys just travel so much, but you have to, like, be so focused. Like, when you open up the set, like, hey, Atlanta, then you're like, oh wait, we're in Chicago. Shit.
Exactly. You will see, just to avoid that, you will see a big all caps spelling of whatever town we're in at the top of each set list, that if you step up to the mic and say something, where you are.
Okay, I've been in concerts where they've said the wrong thing.
Yeah, I mean, it can't get. If you are, think about it like this: if you're playing 4 nights in 1 week, and you're leaving each night after the show, so you show up in the next town the next morning, and then you get on stage that following night, it gets a little confusing after 4 in a row. You have to kind of be conscious of where, especially if all you're seeing in those towns is your tour bus and the backstage area. If you're not able to get out in St. Louis and go see the Arch, then you don't really know you're in St. Louis. Somebody just told you are,
Yeah.
So it can get a little confusing is not the right word. It gets taxing on you. It sort of starts to wear you down after a while. And so I'm sure that does happen, but I can honestly say I've never done that. And I'm knocking on wood.
Knock on wood. Yeah, well, that would be tough, and that would be something that you're very conscious of, And I'm sure back in the day when Led Zeppelin and all those were playing, they weren't very conscious of things. They just opened it up and said whatever, and people were, there was probably a little more craziness flying around. They were
the funniest all-time stage banter is Paul Stanley from Kiss.
Oh yeah,
you just have to go Google it or YouTube it. Just YouTube like Paul Stanley from Kiss, like between songs or something like that. When he's talking, it's the most hilarious banter you'll ever hear in rock and roll history.
Really? I'm gonna have to YouTube that.
Yeah, it's just he's doing that voice and that thing you're saying where, like, it doesn't matter what you say, everybody screams, and he says some of the most ridiculous shit you'll ever hear in your life.
Well, that was good because that was Annie's first concert she ever went to. So
was it really?
YouTube and listen to, yeah. So yeah, it's just amazing to me that you've had such a long and successful career, and the name of your solo album, Midlife Priceless, is just it's just like, hey, I'm halfway, but I got a long way to go. You know what I mean? Like, and everything I'm doing is so right on.
And it's just, everybody, once you get to age 50, everybody's been through some shit in their life. Everybody, no matter who you are, and varying degrees or levels of crap that you have to survive and go through in your life. And, I did go through a midlife crisis, and I came out on the other end, and now I really appreciate things in a way that I didn't before, and that's where the album title came from. Midlife priceless instead of crisis.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And how are your kids doing? Like, I mean, because when you go on tour, like I would go a Saturday night to go play a game, right? And I'd be away one night, but sometimes when you guys are touring, you have to be away from your family for a long time. How does that affect you? Because I would be hard for me.
When I was younger and the kids were younger, there were definitely some difficult times with that. But from a very early age, they understood what I do. And so we were able to manage that. And now when I look at them as young adults, I really think they're doing great. I'm sure that there's something that happened that will affect them, just like any family. They might end up in counseling or therapy about it. Who knows? I sure did from, whatever I went through. But
right.
All of that aside, I can honestly say that, our family's in a really good place, even after everything we've been through. And I'm really proud of all three of my kids. They're amazing people. So good reports from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I feel the same way. But, the good thing about your kids, they never had to see their dad hit a wall in a stadium in Washington. So my kids have to deal with that all the time. So they are definitely going to need therapy.
Well, they might have seen the equivalent. Trust me. I can tell you some stories. So, anytime you do what we do and you put yourself out there, there's going to be some embarrassing moments, and it's how you bounce back from those moments that defines who you are, and that applies to anybody in life, no matter who you are and what you do. It's all about that survival and coming back from those things. That's what really marks your character. And I've had some moments like that in my career where like I've made horrible mistakes, and you're filled with self-doubt after it. And then you just fight through it. And then hopefully you get back to that really good show after that. And you go, oh wait, I can do this, and so my kids have seen me go through some of that too. And it's a struggle, but hopefully they've seen me survive it. And that's the message you want them to see. That's what you want them to leave with.
Yeah. When I do my every radio show or sports talk I do, they always have to ask me that question. And one of the things is that I laugh about it, right? I don't get mad about it. I try to really laugh about it. And unless somebody's being a real ass about the whole thing.
Of course.
But that was always the thing for me, is to show my kids that, look, you're going to have ups and downs in life, and you can find a way to get around that roadblock. You can go over it, you can go around it, you can go under it. There's just, don't ever give up. And that's right. Kind of what my mantra was, because that was a big thing that happened. It was, everywhere. The Washington Post, ESPN, like I'm on ESPN once a month.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is. It was a big thing. And it was a chance for you to say, how do I bounce back from this? And I know the feeling, Gus, full on, buddy. And so, I think again, that's what defines who we are. That's what defines our character. And here we are sitting here talking to each other, enjoying our time and respecting our careers. And that's what it's all about, brother.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, everyone. We are talking with Mark Bryan. We're going to take a quick commercial break. But before we do that, I want to, there's a question I get every week. Zakiah Canoe from Bethesda, Maryland, Mark, your old stomping ground. She asked me, what do you think the Washington football team record will be this season? And how do you think Ryan Fitzpatrick is a good fit, and why? So I think they're going to be, there's an actually extra game, right, this year.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think they're going to be, 9-8?
That's me too. That's where I'm at.
I think they're right in that, because their division's going to be way better. And so I think they're going to be pretty good. They're going to be right on that cusp of being in and making the playoffs. I think they're going to be better. Yeah,
I think the defense is good enough to give us a winning season for sure. And so, but the question mark for the offense is why I'm only going to give them 9 wins. I think Fitzpatrick was a great move for the short term, and I think he could get us off to a good start. Maybe even have, and we got to hope for this, a career season for him. If Fitzpatrick has a career season, we go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But how many career seasons has Fitzpatrick had?
Well, 17.
But you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but even last year in Miami,
of those 17, we need his best one.
Yeah, and he shows some brilliance, and he's been on teams. I mean, Ryan's a very good friend of mine, and we've known each other for I played so many pranks on that guy in locker rooms, but I think the thing is that he brings an energy to the team that they need. Like last year in Miami, I don't know why they wanted to put 2 in when they were winning. Like he was having a career year.
That either. He totally was. And so that back to my point. If we get that Fitzpatrick all year long, we're a playoff team. If we don't, then we're still struggling at quarterback possibly. And I really like Heineke, but I mean, is he a full season starter yet? We don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that
that
question mark is my only thing that keeps me from saying 10 wins. And I think it's very possible that we get that kind of season out of Fitzpatrick and get our 10 wins, but I'm going to go with 9-8.
Yeah. So I think that for Ryan, he said something that I haven't seen him say before, that he feels the most comfortable and like this is the best fit he's ever had in the NFL.
Glad to hear that.
For a guy that's a journeyman like I was, that's a big thing, that they're taking you on as the starter and they're saying, okay, you're our guy. Let's go do something special this year. So I hope that happens. I think Ryan will be a good fit in the short term, because obviously he's older. He played longer than I have. So, he doesn't have that many more years unless he's Tom Brady.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just, like I said, I hope it works out to where we get the guy we saw last season, and I'd love to see him work out long-term, but I don't see it, I'm just being realistic. I don't see it, but I hope it does. I hope I'm wrong. I really like the guy and I really like his skills, and I'd love for him to have a career season and take us to the playoffs. Would love it.
I would too, and I'd love to see all the fans back in the stadium. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Hey, Huddle Up with Gus listeners, Manscaped. They sent me, they hooked me up with a bunch of tools and formulations for their package 3.0 kit. So, I want to show you guys what's in the perfect package, right? We all think we got a perfect package, but they sent me the perfect package 3.0 kit. And I want to show you what they sent me. So it was crazy. It came in this great box, and you can see what it says. They will thank you because they send us this awesome trimmer. They sent us, stuff that makes you smell better. And then, they sent me this great, some boxers even, which you get, right? Protect them. And then, they sent me this cool sack, I guess you want to call it, to store all your stuff in. So it's been great. Manscaped sent me a bunch of product, and you can see it all on here. You can go to manscaped.com and put in the code Gus Frerotte, that's GUSFREROTTE, get 20% off and free shipping when you use that code. But you can get a kit, you can get individual items like this way cool groomer that has a little LED light, ceramic. These things come apart, they're waterproof, you can do a lot with them. So, Manscaped is great. It's funny. I remember when I was playing with the Denver Broncos, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a gentleman who was playing on our team, and, if he ever hears the story, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But he brought his own clippers in one time, and he used it to trim his beard up, his goatee and everything, and he had them there for about 2 or 3 weeks, and he goes in around the corner, he walks in, and there's another player that is actually manscaping with his beard trimmer. So, one of the things is you don't want to use the same trimmer down there that you use up here. So he kind of freaked out a little bit, and he said, "Hey, how long have you been using that tool there?" And he said, "Well, it showed up here about 3 weeks ago, and I've been using it ever since." So, there is a lesson learned that, don't leave things out. And probably if it would have just said Manscaped on it, we wouldn't have had that issue. But it's probably one of the funniest taking care of your balls stories I've ever heard or been around in the locker room in the NFL. So it's a great story. But, I always said there was no way to know. There was no name on it. And the guy was just using it. And another guy was using it. It was not good. But it's a heck of a funny story. So one of the best I've ever heard in my 15 years playing in the league. But there's so many great things about Manscaped and what they're doing, because guys, you got to take care of yourself. Even though I got gray hair and getting older, but you still have to maintain some sort of grooming, right? And so, we all work out. For me, I like working in my yard, doing those things now that I'm retired, getting a little sweat on and everything. You want to smell good. You got to take care of yourself. They got some great products. This one, a little ball deodorant. We all need that here and there. After, working in the yard, taking a hike, doing a walk, whatever you do, it's a great thing. But there's so many great products. I want to thank Manscaped for sending them to me. The Lawnmower 3.0, obviously you can use it anywhere in your body, but I'm sure you guys have all seen the commercials. But this is one just letting you know that the Lawnmower 3.0 comes with the perfect kit. You can buy the lawnmower by itself. You can buy all these products individually. They even sent me this wonderful shirt. And you can see the back. Your balls will thank you. And then here's the front. So it's an awesome shirt. They have great gear. And you know what? Sometimes you can just sit back, take care of your balls a little bit, and read the paper. So I think Manscaped even has their own daily news, which is great. So don't forget that you can go to the code Gus Frerotte, and that's GUSFREROTTE. And you can save 20% on any products, the perfect package gift set. And, you can save 20% and get free shipping. So use the code Gus Frerotte, GUSFREROTTE. Hey, everybody spells my name wrong. They even spelled it wrong in the back of my Pro Bowl jersey. So, I gotta help you guys out. So don't forget how important it is that you use these products. Take care of yourself down below and have some fun, right? There's nothing closer to you than your little buddies. So use the lawnmower, use the code Gus Frerotte, save 20% and get free shipping, and order some great Manscaped products.
Thanks.
Hey, everyone. We're back on Huddle Up with Gus. Please go to my website, huddleupwithgus.com, like and subscribe our show, and you'll be able to listen to all of our great guests, like today's great guest, Mark Bryan. Mark, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you on. I know that we've met way in the past, and it's so nice that you can just reconnect with people like you that are just good people, and it feels like I know we haven't talked in a long time, but it feels like we haven't missed a beat. So it's nice. Thank you for joining me today.
Right back at you, Gus. I feel the same way.
So tell me about writing. So you were with a group, you write songs for a group, and then you got a bunch of guys saying, I like this, I don't like that. And you probably have to collaborate a lot. But when you write a solo album, you've written, I think, 4 now. And yes. So when you write a solo album, it's just you, or do you have somebody saying, how many people do you bounce things off of? Right.
So the way this one worked out was that all of these songs that are on my 4th solo album or most of all of them were pitched for the last Hootie album. So I did a lot of working out these songs in that process. And when we do the Hootie album, we have 60 or 80 songs to pull from, and we can only record 18 of them. Yeah. So there were several that were sitting there that I felt like were really worthy, and sort of, so that that process sort of honed it down to knowing which 12 I was going to do for my solo album. It was the best ones that didn't make it to the Hootie album, basically, and it's such a subjective thing. It's who knows what the best songs are? It's not really about that. It's about, it is, but it's about what are the best songs for these 4 guys. And so when we go to make a Hootie album, what are the ones Darius is enjoying singing? What are the ones the band has the best groove on? That kind of thing. And so that process sort of weeds itself down. And once that was over with Hootie, then I kind of knew right away which songs I wanted to do for my album. And, and outside of that, I'm also writing all the time. There's a project I did just recently for a Rosa Parks tribute with an organization in Washington, D.C., the O Street Mansion. The O Mansion is doing a Rosa Parks tribute. And they put me together with songwriter Paul Williams, and we came up with a Rosa Parks tribute song. And this is a line from it that I just think is amazing. Hope is a hunger that hate can't control.
Oh, I love that. Where can I get that shirt?
The legendary Paul Williams. I'll get you one if you really want one. Yeah, I can get you one.
Yours is probably a medium. I need a big double X.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm involved with projects all the time and trying to stay creative and trying to express myself, but also write about things like Rosa Parks, things that matter. There are messages out there that need to be shared.
Yeah, I saw that you did something with Denny Hamlin. You've really tried to engage in all kind of different projects. Just trying to research you. You've been really busy. Like even though like Hootie, you guys took a break, you've tried to really stay busy in finding other projects for yourself. Was that very important to you?
Yeah. So obviously when Hootie took a break, it was like, well, I've done that for 20 years. What else can I do?
Yeah.
And so that's where it started. I started teaching music industry at the College of Charleston. I got really involved with the nonprofit that I run here, Carolina Studios, which is like an after-school recording studio. And that led to the event with Denny Hamlin, which is a fundraiser for that. And Denny's fundraiser is for cystic fibrosis here at MUSC in Charleston. And so we partner and raise a bunch of money for both of those causes. I've just built a new recording studio, so I'm producing other artists, that kind of thing. So, I mean, there's things I can do in my skill set that are outside of just writing songs and playing live,
Which is awesome. So when you have somebody come in the studio, like, where do you draw your coaching from? Do you think about your dad? Do you think about, you know what I mean? Like, because you're basically, when you're running a studio, you're coaching those people coming in and writing and singing those songs.
Without a doubt. It's so funny you said that, Gus. I make that analogy all the time, that the producer of an album is very similar to a coach of a team, and the band is the team, and you have to keep the big picture in mind as the producer. What's the goal that we're going for? And then you try to bring the best out of each of those musicians and band members to where we get the best possible sound. And so it's very similar to coaching up a team. And I, like, as I said earlier at the beginning of our conversation, that came naturally to me from being a gym rat when I was a kid around my dad, coaching the mini Terps in Gaithersburg.
The mini Terps. That's awesome. Yeah. Do you think that all the sports you played and growing up, and you were very diverse in the sports you played, how did you think that really, besides the team aspect, but athletically helped you be a better guitar player and in a group?
When you are in fifth grade and you strike out to win the game, like you had a chance to win the game and you strike out, right?
Yeah.
That's worst feeling in the world. It happens to every kid at some point,
Yeah.
And you have your story from when you were a kid and whatever sport it was where you failed.
Oh, yeah.
And so you learn failure through sports. You have to learn failure, and you learn it at a young age, especially if you start playing sports when you're a kid, when you're a young kid, and you're not going to win every game. You're not going to make every shot. You're not going to get every hit, that kind of thing. So you learn early on how to overcome those things. And I think that was a huge thing for me. Of once I got out and started playing out live, I didn't always have the best shows. I wasn't always singing on key. I wasn't always playing the part right on guitar. And it's making those mistakes and coming back from them that teaches you who you want to be and how to get better at what you're doing, And so that, I think I got a lot of that early on in sports. I can remember striking out when I had a chance to win a game in sixth grade. And, that I still remember it. So obviously it affected me deeply.
Yeah.
But having had that happen at that young age, once something like that happened, once I was 16 or 18, it was like, okay, those things are going to happen. How do you bounce back from it?
Yeah. So did your kids play sports?
Not really. A little bit. They dabbled, but they were not as into it as I was. They're really into music. All three of them got that gene from me. And they can all sing on key. They can all play instruments. It seems to come very naturally to them. So,
oh, that's awesome. But I'm sure they were in the studio with you. from the get-go.
Yeah, they were here and there. I mean, I recorded songs that they were when they were like 8 and 9 and 10 years old and stuff, just for fun. So they did get a little taste of that early on. And they all played a little bit of sports. They just weren't, nobody committed to anything,
Yeah. Well, that's like I always say about Gunnar and Gabe, right? They're like, oh, they were football players. Well, I'm like, yeah, they kind of had to be, because they were in like the locker room with me every day, playing with the guys that I play with. They were hanging out, shooting basketball, whatever we had in the locker room, right? So that was kind of what they loved, and they just fell in love with it. I'm sure it's the same with your kids. If they're hanging out in the studio and they're seeing how much, what it's like. It's work, but they're also having
fun too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
And yeah, I think that definitely has had an influence on them.
So have you thought about like saying someday, all right, we're going to get together and we're going to put a little album together, all of us? Or is it always just, oh, that would be awesome.
It just hit me last Thanksgiving of 2020. We did a little show. There's a thing in my neighborhood where you play on Wednesday nights. It's not really an open mic. You have to book it, but you can, a lot of bands play on Wednesday nights. And it was the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving last year. And all of my kids were in town, and I had gotten that date to play there. And I said, do you guys want to do this set with me? And they were all like, yeah. And so my 3 kids and my sister, the 5 of us, did a set together and played on each other's songs. Everybody sang, everybody played.
Did you smile the whole time?
I mean, it must have been permanent, dude.
It'd be so awesome.
Yeah. So that gave me the realization that, hey, I could collaborate with my family on musically if we ever want to. But there's a big difference between doing things like that for fun and then making an album and taking it really seriously, because everybody has to dig in, So we're not really to that layer of commitment yet to it. I think everybody just wants to do it for fun right now. But the fact that we can collaborate is so cool.
Yeah, no, that is cool, because the moment that Dad says we got to dig in and you guys got to be here for 10 hours, they're going to be like, oh, Dad, I don't know. Then what do you say to them?
That's when you become coach instead of dad. Yeah, you're coach instead of dad. Yeah, that's no good.
So like my kids get mad at me because I'm saying too much or whatever. They call me coach. That's what they call me. I know. I said, oh, I'm in trouble. They just called me coach. But they call me, they call me Bisker. I don't even know where they got me. Bisker. That's my name.
I like them already, Gus. I like them.
Oh yeah, you'd love them. They sound a lot like your kids. Like they're just good kids, good people, and they're just a lot of fun to be around. I'm actually golfing with the boys more and more now.
Good.
They go, Dad, why didn't you make us golf when we were young? I'm like, what was I going to take 2 whiny little boys to golf every day, and they hated it? Like I wasn't doing that.
That's cool that they're into it now, though. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, we have fun. But they still can't beat me. So
I still can't beat my dad, by the way, who just turned 80. He just turned 80 last year, and he shot 78 a couple months ago. I can't beat my dad. I mean, he's playing from the senior teams, but I can't beat him.
Where do you guys go play usually if you go back to see him?
He actually lives down here now in Sunset Beach, North Carolina, and I live in Charleston. So we kind of meet in like Pawleys Island area a lot to play golf, somewhere around there. Or he'll come down and play Bulls Bay, where we play down here in Charleston. And then he's got a couple courses up by him that I go up and play with his buddies too sometimes. Oh
yeah. Do you, does he let you know it too, that you can't beat him?
He's not a big trash talker, but he's got that wry smile going. Like,
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I do that. I don't say much. I don't talk much trash because they get pretty pissed. But like I'll be on the golf cart, like Gunner 92, Gabe 87, Dad 80. Like, out loud enough so they could hear it.
That's right. That's right.
So. With your new album, how does this work now? When you guys want to go, when you're going to go, are you going to go back and tour with Hootie? You talked about going to Mexico. Or are you going to go out on a solo album tour? How does that work for you now?
I'm doing select shows. So I just played here in Charleston at the Windjammer, which is like the greatest all-time beach venue there is, last month. And then I'm playing in October at Ram's Head on stage in Annapolis.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, which will be a blast. And then
that would be.
And then maybe another Charleston show, and then a solo, and then Hootie is doing Mexico in January, and there are still tickets available for that. It's called Hootie Fest, and it's like a big 90s festival kind of show on the beach in Mexico, and it'll have like Blues Traveler and Spin Doctors and Better Than Ezra, and the list goes
awesome.
on. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's in January.
And what part of Mexico? Like where?
Playa, not Playa del Carmen. It's in between
Playa del Rey. Right.
It's in between Playa del Rey and like Cancun. It's just it's like one of those beach resorts that's in between Playa del Rey and Tulum.
Yeah. Take your bottled water, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the last thing. Have you ever had an issue like that where because we're all human, like where you got on stage and you're like, oh God, it's hitting me right now. Like, I mean, all the years you've done it, you've had to have something happen, like where
twice on, and this has happened to everybody in the band at least once. Twice in our career, I had something happen on stage where I was sick.
Yeah,
and I had the show must go on. I had to take the stage sick, and both times I had somebody put a trash can like right off the stage, behind the speaker, and I'd just be playing and like pretending like everything's okay, and then I'd just go over and like hurl into the trash can. And the second time that it happened, we were in LA playing Universal Amphitheater, and Anthony and Flea from the Chili Peppers were in like the second row. Yeah, in front of me.
Right.
And so like they're like I idolize these people, and they're sitting here watching me play, and I'm trying to act like nothing's wrong, but I was sick as a dog, and I had to keep going over and throwing up on the side. And that sucked. But I got through both shows, and I mean, that's what the show must go on. You do what you got to do.
And if there's anybody that probably has done that before, it's probably Anthony and Flea.
Exactly.
Sure done it many, many times.
I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, I mean, okay. And so like when you play sports, like for me, I'd go to a game, let's say I was with the Broncos, we're playing in Kansas City. It's a big game, and you just get under center. It's the first snap of the game. You got butterflies. Do you still get butterflies at all, or you pass?
Without a doubt. And I have a warm-up routine that I do that helps me through like the worst. I don't know if this was the way it was for you guys before a game, but the worst part is like the last hour before you start.
Oh yeah.
Like it'll be, let's say the show time's at 8:00, and like, 6:30, 6:45 rolls around, and you've already eaten, you've already done all the stuff. So what else can you do? So you're just sitting there waiting. And so I came up with like a really good warm-up routine that I do on guitar and with vocals, and just try to get myself warmed up so that when I hit the stage, everything's ready to go. And that sort of takes care of that nervous butterfly time, but I definitely still get them. And if we're ever doing anything on live national TV, I get the worst butterflies.
Oh, really?
Oh man. But
are you guys superstitious?
Not really. We do a shot before every show. We'll do like just a little shot of something. And that's just a tradition we have, but
that'll get you ready.
And then the other thing was when we used to share hotel rooms, it was don't turn the TV off when you leave the hotel room. Always leave the TV on. That was the superstition we had. And so now we all have our own rooms, but we still all do that.
All do that. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen so many guys. Like I've had guys like come into the locker room. They put their whole uniform on, like how it's going to look on them on the ground in front of their locker. They wanted this, and I'm like, why? But there's routines. I had buddies who throw up like every game before they'd play.
Wow.
And everybody like, they're like, don't you have a superstition? I'm like, I just get dressed. I have a cup of coffee, get dressed. Let's go. But you're right. It was like, we warmed up, we'd come back in and we'd have to wait for something going on outside. And you got that 30 to 40 minutes.
And you got butterflies.
And you're sitting in your locker like, can we just go out already?
Yeah, let's just go. Like, let's start. Why isn't this thing starting yet?
Yeah, exactly. And it is rough sometimes like that.
Yeah, especially when the butterflies are kicking, because your mind starts wandering and you just can't get comfortable. Like sitting down isn't going to do it. Standing up, you're like, oh, I'm going to be standing up for the next 2 hours, so I kind of want to rest. That's just the weirdest place. So I just pull out a guitar and start noodling and warming up my voice, and that seems to pass that time really well. Hey, Gus, I just lost you, bud.
Yeah, he's freezing up on us.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, let's get him
there.
Let me see. We can barely hear you, Gus.
All right, what happened?
Now he's back.
I didn't touch anything.
It's like a signal
My
thing.
kids.
Yeah.
Blaming it on my kids. Back?
Not really.
Not really. Can't really hear you?
Now you're back. That was clear.
All right, good. So I was going to ask you, played in front of some big stadiums, but you've had to play in front of a lot of people. What's the biggest crowd you've ever played in front of?
It's I think it's 60 to 70,000 people, and it happened once here in Charleston back in the day, right when we were first starting to blow up. There was a radio fest here called Wave Fest in Charleston, and they did it in this park downtown, and it was us and like a bunch of other big bands at the time, and there were 60 to 70,000 people in that park. And then about a year later or two, we played in Germany at this festival called Rock am Ring, and it was us, Van Halen, Bon Jovi, Slash's Snake Pit, which was his first solo thing,
Right.
and Ugly Kid Joe. Do you remember that band?
Yeah, I remember them.
And the five of us and Hootie, and we played these festivals in Germany that were on these auto race tracks, and it was called Rock am Ring. And I mean, 60 to 70,000 people and out in front of you out on these racetracks. One was one was in East Germany and one was in West Germany in the 90s. And those crowds were the biggest I've ever played to.
So when you go overseas, obviously there's a language barrier, but they sing your songs. Like, I mean, obviously you guys have a lot of songs that can be, everybody knows.
English speaking countries, especially, obviously the UK and the Scandinavian countries and Germany a little bit. They speak some English, so they'll listen. But Italy, Spain, not so much. We didn't have as much luck over there with translating, for whatever reason. South Africa and Australia and New Zealand, we were huge over there in those places.
Wow!
So anywhere English speaking, we were as big there as we were in America. And then the other countries, it sort of was dependent on how much crossover the English was in that country, I think.
Do you still get kind of like the goosebumps when you go over and fly and you do concert tours all over the world, and you're like, I was just this kid from Silver Spring, Maryland. Now I get to go play in New Zealand and Australia. Like, that has to be amazing. It
is amazing. So there's this constant, back and forth between, oh my God, I'm just this kid and I still get to do this. And wait, I'm this man who has already done all this, and I could still do this much more. I could build on this, So it's that constant flux between the two of just like I'm still wowed by it all, but I'm also still like inspired and still I still want to achieve with it, with my musical ability,
Yeah. I just think it's great that, you've had all this success and you keep achieving your personal life, you keep for your work, and then you really want to give back to your community where you've been a teacher, you've done nonprofit things, and it all seems so important to you, which I absolutely love. And I think it's so special.
Thanks for saying, Gus. Yeah, man. I mean, it really goes back to a lot of, like we said at the beginning of the conversation, my dad and what he instilled in me early on. And I've always been goal oriented. And you got to work hard to reach your goals. And so that's it. That's the approach. And I'm still there.
Well, I think that, people want to ask why I can interview all these people on my show. And I said, look, sports affects all of us in one way or another. And I love your story about what you learned from your dad and how it translated for you into music. And I love the fact that he was able to see your true passion. And
Me too.
What a gift that was.
Yeah, he gets a lot of credit for that, and I like telling that story on his behalf. Number one, to give him credit, but number two, so other people can hear it and take that same mentality, and maybe they were able to instill that in their kid or whatever,
Yeah, and he was probably thankful you liked the guitar instead of the drums.
I bet he was. I bet he was. You're right about that.
My son wanted to play the drums, and I got him those electric ones, like that you put the headphones on so you can hear. It's not like the real drums, but they're
right.
And
you're a smart.
And all
man.
you hear is like a little tap, and it was like the best thing.
You're very smart, though.
Yeah. I was like, I am not listening to that all night.
Right.
Yeah. Because it wasn't good music. But hey, buddy, I appreciate you. So why don't you tell our fans and everybody where you're going to be, how they can follow you, and maybe check out your website.
Yeah. So, like I said, the next show coming up is Ram's Head on Stage in Annapolis, October 15th. There are still tickets available, so you can just go online and you can go to ramsheadonstage.com and buy tickets for that. And then the album Midlife Priceless is kind of everywhere that you would get music. There's vinyl and CD that you can order if you still do that thing online or buy it from the stores. And then it's on Spotify and Apple Music and all of that as well. And I also made 6 videos for this album because I figured, why not? Like, let me just have some fun with this, and so every time you make a video, you give the song a new life that it wouldn't have had otherwise. And so I made 6 videos for this album, and they're all on YouTube, on my Mark Bryan music page on YouTube.
Awesome.
So yeah, so that's worth checking out, I think. I mean, that's as good a way to check the album out as any, is just go and watch the videos. You get half the album right there,
Yeah, and I did watch the Gotta Get Out of Town, right?
Yeah.
I watched that video. I think you talked about how you some producer saw it and loved it and said, here's what we got to do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good looking girls in that video.
Yeah, he's the director. His name's Mark Pellington, and he had this image. Like, if you listen to the song, it sounds like a guy who's like, in a very urgent situation. And so he pictured the guy like just living the life and partying or whatever. Then all of a sudden he's in trouble and he's got to scoot down. So that's how we made the video. And so he put beautiful girls in there. He put like skateboarders and anything that brought a little mayhem into the look of the video. And then I'm in the car like trying to escape it all.
Right, cool. Right. Yeah, no, it was awesome. I loved watching it. And you're right. From you and I growing up to the first time MTV came on, videos make songs so much. You know what I mean? Like it kind of adds a different dimension to the songs.
It gives it a new life, and that's all I can ask for these songs. I want to give them a life of their own. I mean, it's one thing to make them, but it's another thing to put them out there and hope people hear them. And so a video just gives it a chance to get to more eyes and ears, Oh
my God. Do you remember when Thriller, like the video Thriller came out, Michael Jackson, like how the anticipation and how everybody wanted to watch it? I forget how many people saw it like that first day it came out on MTV. It was crazy.
No, but it was a game changer. You're right.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm really happy for you, man. You look great. My wife was commenting, said his hair looks exactly the same as look at that. Look at your hair. It's like the exact same. Like, I don't know. Like mine's all gray. I got all gray and I'm old.
Yeah, no, mine's. I'm getting the sideburns and the eyebrows and the beard are all gray. So I'm right behind you there. Yeah. But I'm very fortunate at 54 to have a full head of hair. I mean, there's no question about it.
That's what I say too. Every time I get my hair cut, somebody's like, "Oh, you got a lot of hair," and I'm like, "Is that a good thing?" They're like, "Oh yeah, most guys your age are bald."
It's true, man. I mean, you look around, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, we are lucky. Wow. I'm lucky to call you a friend, and I appreciate you joining me on Huddle Up with Gus and sharing your story with us, man. It was great to see you.
Gus, right back at you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, hey, everyone, what a great story. You should all get inspiration from Mark and hearing about his childhood growing up and how sports helped shape his life. Even though he's a world-renowned musician, he's just done it all, and he's given back to the community now and helping really kids and people understand how to play music and the enjoyment they can get out of arts and entertainment. So, Mark, thank you again. Hey, everyone, I appreciate you listening to Huddle Up with Gus. We'll see you next week. I want to thank Vegas Sports Advantage. Don't forget to use my code Huddle Up, save 25%. And also want to thank 1631 Digital News and Sounder FM. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Terry. And thank you, Mark. Have a great day.
Thanks, Shaw.
And that's a wrap, sports fans. Thanks for joining in the fun at the 1631 Digital Studios for another action-packed Huddle Up with Gus, featuring 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte. Huddle Up with Gus is proudly produced by 1631 Digital Media and is available on Apple Music.